All right, then I'll pull up my intro here. So the name of this tutor talk, first of all, welcome, is online reading resource called News for You, and it is for ABE and ESL students. And as stated before, I'm Leah Patterson. I am the Northside Ohio River area program coordinator, and I have similar responsibilities as the coordinators that you all have that help and support you. One additional responsibility I have is I also support students that are trying to get into Bidwell Training Center, which is located on the north side. And it's sort of like a trade school. They have about 6 or 7 programs, and we provide math and reading classes, or reading resources, I should say, to those that need to improve their performance, their skills to pass the assessment test to get into Bidwell Training Center. Some of their programs are culinary arts, um, medical assistants, medical billing and coding, uh, forget pharmacy technician, and there's chemical lab technician, as well as horticulture. So they have quite a variety. So those are some additional ways that I help support students, both ESL and ABE students, with reading, which is our subject today. Let me see here. Just a quick little bit, I'm more informal. So, if you have any questions or things that you like to share or ask, please feel free to do so by taking yourself off mute. It's perfectly fine. And I love the feedback. So the introductions, I'd love to get to know a little bit about you all. I know some have shared their experiences thus far. What is news for you? We'll go over that. Who can use the online resource? The features of the website, and tutor share out. I just added that because I have had many tutors that I've worked with and met along the way. I've been with Literacy Pittsburgh now for 3 years. I just celebrated my anniversary this year, that have found great resources on their own. And I find that sometimes sharing among yourselves can be very useful in adapting new resources. So who can use the resource? It is recommended that for the ESL students, if they're closer to on the intermediate level with some of the activities that are within the website, it might be a little bit better for them. So intermediate or advanced levels. With ABE students, you have a variety, I think, across the board. There's maybe a little bit more flexibility. Now, obviously, if somebody's just learning to read, which is a possibility, we do have a handful of students that may be struggling and just learning to read. It may not be recommended for them. So real quick, I just kind of wanted to get to know a little bit about who we have on the call, and like maybe your name and just who you're working with. And if there were anything that you're currently using. And I'll just, if you can't get on camera, that's perfectly fine. Just curious as to if you're ESL or ABE, how many folks we have represented this evening. And I think Janet, you are working with, was it ABE?
No,
Oh, I got it backwards.
yeah. English language learners, 2 intermediate women, one from Belarus, one from China.
Okay, excellent.
And yeah,
And Marco, you're working with supporting people in reading and math, correct? Oh, you're muted. What? I didn't quite hear you. I
Thank
think you're
you.
muted. There
Thank
you
you.
go.
No, I was muted. Yes, mostly ABE. I have a young man who's from Bhutan, and I'm helping him prepare for the GED,
Okay.
specifically in math and English.
Okay. Wonderful. Deb, um,
Uh, I'm ESL,
okay.
and I'm teaching or tutoring 3 people that have progressed to advanced level for English,
Mm-hmm.
2 from Brazil and 1 from Turkey.
Okay, wonderful. Emily, you're on my screen next, if you're able to talk.
Yeah, I'm tutoring one woman still, and I would say she's
You cut out a little bit.
kind of an advanced intermediate.
Okay, advanced intermediate ESL?
Yeah, she's from Brazil.
Okay, gotcha. Diane? I know one person I know is on kind of in between, so maybe unable. Cheryl, are you able to kind of share who you're working with?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I'm teaching two students from China and one from Japan in ESL, and they're intermediate students.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Deborah, if you're on another call or tending to something
Oh,
and can't get on, that's okay.
no, it's okay. I work with two women. One is from Mexico, one is from Uzbekistan, and it's kind of hard for me to say where they're at. I would say the one from Uzbekistan is definitely intermediate.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and the one from Mexico, she seems she seems to understand a lot of things, but I think her reading comprehension is really low.
Okay.
And
This is
I'm only doing that. I'm only understanding that now because we're doing a book. So I'm asking her to read it. It's hard for her to pronounce the words, and I don't think she's getting the meaning of the book. So I'm a little
okay.
stuck. I'm a little stuck with that.
Okay. Well, I
Okay.
can
It was her
definitely
idea. It was
uh,
her idea to read a book together. So there you
okay.
go. I wouldn't have known unless we did it.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's kind of a learning experience, and I think the resources in News for You will be helpful to address all of it. And what I love is how it's set up. So how about we delve in? I think this is helpful to see it. Let me share my screen here. Let's see where I have something on there. There we go. Okay. So this is actually what News for You looks like. And I think I'm first going to start with the tips for teachers. So like Deborah was saying, I'm a little stuck, I'm trying to figure it out. We're delving into a book. And I think there's some struggles with maybe comprehension. So the wonderful thing about News for You is, let me go over this real quick before I do that piece. So what is it? What is News for You? News for You is an online resource that presents news articles, but presents news stories as well as activities that you can use. They post every Wednesday 6 new stories, as well as crossword puzzles, word searches, and there's all kinds of activities that are posted for classroom instruction as well as tutors. So I'll be sharing some of that information with you. You can also look at, for example, the archive and go back. So if you have a student that has a particular interest, and here's an example that sort of always comes up when I'm getting to know students. Sometimes they're reading and looking at information, particularly if they are from other countries and may have family members or friends that are there, because they're trying to keep up with, maybe the new information about what's going on, and how that may impact them directly or people that they know. So here's an example of that. So this week they have a story on Gaza. Let me kind of move it up a little bit so you can see this here. And there are several things that you can do. You can have, if it's an intermediate or advanced student, and they don't struggle as much with comprehension, it might be a good idea to have them actually read the stories. And we'll do a deeper dive in a breakdown of how you can do those things. And it also gives you an opportunity to read and listen to stories as well. And that's something that is encouraged and also in some of the curriculum. So if you're joining us tonight and maybe you're not doing what Deborah is doing now, which is kind of saying, you know what, we're gonna take a different route and we're gonna utilize maybe a book. you know, this is a great way to maybe get started in trying to incorporate something outside of curriculum. The curriculum, many of the curriculums, is anybody use Standout? Standout in particular has some audio where it gives students an opportunity sometimes to listen to dialogue, maybe between two or more people, so that they can listen to the English language. And it's not all news stories. Some of it is just, you know, interesting, fun facts. When I was kind of doing my little research on here, they had a story on the eclipse. So that's something that I was kind of interested in, and I was reading on. I don't know if anybody else is going to be doing any activities. I have some tutors I know that will actually not be tutoring because they are in Erie and some other areas to witness the eclipse. An example is marriage comes back after the pandemic. It doesn't have to be, you know, as maybe as serious as a news topic as what's happening in Gaza and potential famine that they face. Is it time to ban cell phones in school? So I always tell tutors, you know, they can kind of gauge, you know, where their students are and maybe what content might be appropriate for them. Mexican climbers crowned queen of the mountains. You know, this is a fun fact. They're kind of doing away with the dollar hot dog after a food fight. So that's kind of interesting to kind of hear and maybe what vocabulary might come out of that. So these are the stories that are presented this week. And again, you can always go back and look at maybe some interesting topics that might be available. If you look to, well, it is to my right. My box is actually kind of in my way. I'm going to move you all there. You can see that there is a vocabulary list. And I love this vocabulary list because it's something that maybe you can do as an activity. If you hover over a word, it tells you how the word is being used in the actual news article. So that's a way that you can do a fun activity to build vocabulary with your students, whether they're ABE or ESL. So in this way, when they mention severe in one of the particular articles, it's referring to it being very bad, right? Data is information. So they have a plethora of things here. I'm going to go back to tips because this will kind of further explain how you can decipher what you may need and how you can use it. And this is the great thing about it. One of the reasons why I picked this particular topic is because it's kind of an underutilized resource. And it's certainly something that you can utilize. I'll be sharing the website, and there is a passcode that Literacy Pittsburgh has. I won't place it on the screen, but I'll place it in the chat as we move on. And if you want to go on at your leisure at some point and look at some things, you can. So under tips for teachers, this I highly recommend as a starting point. This gives you all kinds of tips on how you can use per subject. So if you know, like Deborah said, hey, listen, I'm kind of looking for some things to incorporate with comprehension, okay? So if you click on comprehension, what comes up is they'll give you some facts and some tips that will help. Have students work individually or in pairs, because some of you have maybe more than one student. And I do have some small groups that I assist with. Assign each person or a pair a different article from News for You. So this is a way that you can use it. Ask the students to read their assigned articles carefully. And if you're a tutor pair, you could do that as well. And write comprehension questions about them. Then have students take each other's test and hand them back to the writer. Or maybe they can write a question. Maybe that's all they can do is a short question and see if you can answer it based on the article. Keeping things in order. Now, I found this to be a really good tip. So if you are selecting an article and the goal is maybe to look at comprehension, you may want to keep it in sequential order for that person, for that student. If an article is sequential, write a simple outline on the board by asking questions for suggestions. Students can choose broad categories and subcategories under each Roman numeral. So that's kind of an example of, how when you read article, I love this for ABE students because this is something that I am working with my tutors and kind of pushing for students that need to pass a timed reading test. So what I always say is you have to know how to identify the information when it's a passage or material, right? So many of us have heard, if you've are a college graduate or maybe you had a note taker, that you want to be able to identify the main ideas, right? The main ideas of the subject, which are usually presented maybe in the first 2 sentences. And then you have what is the supporting information. So that is kind of sequential. You might have headings and then look for your main idea because those are transferable skills. If it's GED, right? There's reading on there and that helps you in identifying the materials and information you may need. For ESL, even making sense of what it is they're reading when they're trying to get a grasp or handle on comprehension, it helps to maybe, provide it in the sequential order and writing it down. And by the way, News for You is something that you can use either online or in person. So if you have maybe a laptop or something, you might be sharing it that way. There's some printable forms that I'll kind of show you that have the activities on them, which is cool too. And let's see. And then they give you more activities that they can do, that you can do. Some of them you may have to adapt because it may say groups, but there might be ways that you can just do it if you're in a pair with one student. Divide the class into 2 groups. This is for taking the teacher's place. So you would switch. Assign an article from News for You to each group. Each group will then teach the rest of the class about the contents of the article. Prepare a list of written questions for each group to guide them in their planning. Tell students you will give a short true or false quiz. So that's kind of ways to kind of gauge if they kind of understand it or were able to pick up what the content of the article is. And my box is kind of positioned where I see you all kind of strange. So if I'm moving around, that's the reason why. And one thing that I definitely wanted to share was, I don't know if anyone here has someone that is also studying citizenship because we have classes that a lot of students might be taking in addition to working with a tutor. There is a lot of information on the citizenship test. And I've actually shadowed a couple of classes, was going to teach, but then got busy with some other classes. This is an excellent resource up there. And if you're thinking that our students don't have an interest in voting, I think that's actually going to be a tutor talk or a small workshop for students. There's a lot of information on there about the process of voting. That is really helpful. And I can show you some audio in a moment for that. And it's really breaks it down in a very simplistic way and helpful. So sometimes if you're a visual learner or you need to listen to the audio for that, it's very helpful. Let me see if I can do that. I might have to stop sharing and then bring it up again. Let me see if I can do it. Let's see here. Let's see here. Load the free news for you. I'm gonna see if I can do this. I might have to stop share and then bring it back up. Let me see if I can do that. Let's see here. Love our wonderful. Oh, there we are. You have to select the audio before you actually share it. So that's what I was looking for. There we go. All right. Or else you can't hear it. Okay, here we go here. So this is what the information on.
Today, most U.S. citizens who are at least 18 years old have the right to vote. But it hasn't always been this way. Click the picture on the right to watch a video about the history of voting rights in the United States. As you watch, ask the following questions. What did I learn? What surprised me? What do I want to learn more about? Watch the video as many times as you need. When you are done, click the next button or arrow to go to the next slide.
Can you hear it? Everybody can hear it? Okay.
Yes.
So that's an example of kind of how it guides you through. So, you know, like the next component talks about who votes. So this is just something if you have that student that is interested in it, and it actually can work for some of the other subjects too. One thing that I like about the news articles in particular are if you're in the news articles, there's a couple of ways you can break it down. And this goes back to the point of comprehension, for example. You can read it sentence by sentence, and I'll show you that just so you can kind of hear how that works. Thank you for bearing with me because this going back and forth drives me nuts, but it's good, good information. Let me see here. Then I'm going to stop sharing and then go back in. Okay, so for the article on Gaza, for example, if you click on read and listen, let's see if I can pull this up. Let's see. You can click on it here.
Palestinian children wait for donated food on March 12th in Rafah, southern Gaza Strip. More than 1 million are at risk there because most aid is cut off.
Okay, and then it goes further down. So other features are too, if you need to change like the text size of the article, you can do that. That's always helpful. And I'm going to take you to some of the exercises, which is something else that I really like. And I actually did some of them too, which is kind of cool. Now, the only thing that is sort of a disadvantage, like after you read an article and you're looking at like the cross puzzles, maybe to use sort of as a skill for vocabulary or something like that, is the answers actually appear in the next couple of articles. It comes over to like the far right of your screen where it says crossword puzzle. So I'll click on this so you can see what that looks like, because I kept looking for them. Some of them, if you know the answer to any of them, certainly shout it out. This is kind of cool. But some of them I didn't know myself, and I'm like, where is the answer key? But it actually appears, I went back in the article because it says, oh, these are the answers to last week's crossword puzzle. So I went in the article and just clicked on crossword and was able to find them. Halloween's month for short. I'm trying to think what that might be. Anybody know that one?
OCT?
Ah, there you go. Okay, so we'll look at 8. And then you actually can just plug it in. That's something there. Let me see if I can plug it in there. Oh. Let's see how to put it in there. I got something coming up on my screen. I don't know what that is. But I don't think you all will have any trouble with it. It's just because there's something populated on my screen. But anyway, you will put it where number 8 would be, which is right here. And then another funny thing is, because I spent a little time on this just to see how it was, you can actually get like a little hint. You can click on that for the word search part and stuff. So it kind of made it a little cool. Let's see. Check. Love technology. I'll tell you, I can't get it to come up now. But anyway, I'll send the directions on how to do that feature if it's something that you might be interested in. And then there's also a word search one that is really fun to do actually too. And I'm going to move this down because it's stopping me from being able to see my screen. It's so strange on my end. Let me see over here. And I'll click on word search. Let's see if we can pull that one up. Here's the word search one. Now I did get this one. You just kind of drag your mouse or your pad to answer these questions. So anyone see the word annoyance? Annoyance. So you can kind of break this down, and if your students don't know the vocabulary or the the definition of it, these are ways that you can kind of incorporate it. And this kind of gives a break of maybe just talking at them, but kind of engaging them. So let's see what we can find here in this. Do I see any?
First line, annoyance.
Ah,
Down.
down here.
Now go to the R on the left.
Ah, perfect. Bingo. And if you drag it down, it'll highlight it. And there you go. But yeah, these are fun exercises that you can kind of do with your students. And there's a video too that I will actually share with you all as well, because I think it very adequately explains how you can incorporate it and use it, as a teacher's guide as well. Let me see if I can find that video. Because it's interesting. You can't really save it, you gotta just kind of go in the moment to use it.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do we have any what are those things? Lesson plans that incorporate these that are already complete? Like, there's a lesson.
That's a good question. Yep, absolutely. There's something similar to how you can use it on here, and I'll show you, but it's not really. This is kind of considered a supplemental, maybe,
Okay.
resource. So it may not be as formal as like a lesson plan, if you will. But if you go on yourself and look at like the tips for teachers, it'll kind of outline how you can do the activities. And I think it's this here. Let me see if I can find it. Student copy of this teacher's guide. There's a video I'll show too. So this is. It's not, like I said, it's not a learning plan, but let's say you don't want to come up with questions for yourself, or you're kind of like, I don't want to necessarily come up with questions for comprehension. If you click on that teacher's guide, this is something that you can utilize, and it'll take you through. It'll say, the reading level is from 4 to 6. This is based on that Gaza article that was up before, and it gives you an objective. So it kind of does it for you a little.
Right.
So the content learning objective is learners will answer questions related to levels of hunger. Okay, that's an example. And then before reading, ask learners if they know the meaning of the word famine. And then it gives you check comprehension. And I keep going back to that because that's something that is on both sides. It doesn't matter who you're working with. It seems like comprehension and understanding, building vocabulary are all things that people need. Encourage learners to answer incomplete sentences. How many people in Gaza risk famine? So these are based on what was in the article.
Yeah.
And it also is a lesson in note taking, like I was saying before, for GED students. For the students I mentioned earlier, for those that were on when I said I work with Bidwell students. A common thing among them is, hey, listen, it was timed and I don't think I answered enough questions, and that does impact their score. So it's actually learning those skills and knowing how to get to the information within the article. What level of hunger, number 3 is like what level of hunger is called a crisis. So this is all based on whatever was in the article. And these are the ideas and things that kind of are already developed, so you don't have to go to the drawing board yourself. Now,
Right.
there are some things under the teacher's tips that don't come more formalized under the teacher's guide, such as this, so you can use it either way. Where, you know, if you're kind of a creative person and you say, oh, I don't mind making flashcards, for example, for vocabulary, then, you know, you can utilize maybe some of the things that you find under the teacher's tips. And then if you're a person that says, oh, I kind of like it presented, you know, already and kind of put together, then the teacher's guide, where they present what the objective is, what they should get out of it, and develop questions, this would be a good route to go.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to see where my video is, because it kind of, there is a video where you can see this in action, because there's a tutor that is working with a student. I think it might be down here. Go to the other thing. Let's see if I can find it somewhere on here. Anyone else have any questions or anything so far about it?
Yeah, so this is Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi. When we use this with students, and I work virtually with both students,
Okay.
is it shared, or is it like they have their own access to it and I have my access to it?
I would imagine when you are working with a student, you're probably sharing the information with them. Now, there are a number of things you can do. If they have like a little pad, for example, if they're reading something, you can probably share the link. There are some articles, if you don't have a subscription directly, that you can actually go on and utilize. But you will have that access, you know, through us. So yeah, most of it you can kind of share when you're doing it. There is a little brief lesson. I can see how long it is, and it explains how you use it online too. So if you're thinking about doing it, you can always go to some of the instructions and on here too, because it really does help in understanding how you can use it online. So that's another benefit as well. I think this is a short video. I don't want to play it if it's too long. Let me see if it's, and this gives some explanation to it. Let me see how long this is. It's 6 minutes. It's not too bad. Can you all hear the audio?
Yes.
People
This-
around the
this answers
world are
some things
using
about
newsforyouonline.com to improve their English language skills. Take a tour of newsforyouonline.com and learn how you too can read and listen to high-interest news in plain English, anytime, any place. 7 interactive stories and activities are posted each week and cover topics such as world and national news, health, education, politics, sports, and arts. To read the story, click on the photo, headline, or the Read and Listen to the Full Story link. Listen to an entire story by clicking Hear the Whole Story. Or you can read along while listening, 1 sentence at a time, by clicking each sentence. You can easily change the size of the article text by clicking the plus or minus buttons at the top of each story. Key vocabulary is defined where it appears in the story. The vocabulary words are highlighted in blue. Simply roll your mouse over a highlighted word to see the definition. A complete list of the week's vocabulary is on the right side of each page, with rollover definitions. Photos and graphic information help build comprehension. You can listen to each image caption by clicking on the caption. If a story has more than 1 image, click on the arrows on the side to see the other photos or graphics. Some articles also feature short videos to help readers learn more about the topic. Just click on the video to watch it. After reading a story, You can test your understanding by completing follow-up exercises. Click Article Exercises on the right side of the page. All exercises are interactive and offer immediate feedback. Exercise types range from true-false to multiple choice, fill in the blank, and scrambled sentences. If you want to refer to the story while answering questions, click the Return to Article link and the article will open in a new browser tab. You can click back and forth between the tabs as needed. You can practice reading comprehension and keyboarding skills with fill-in-the-blank exercises. In scrambled sentence exercises, your task is to drag each word to the boxes in the proper order so they form a sentence from the article. You'll get a message once you have finished the sentence correctly. Readers can practice their writing skills by leaving comments on stories. Just type in your name, your comment, and click Post Comment. Every week, our poll asks for readers' opinions on a topic related to one of the 2 top articles. You can cast your vote, then see how others have voted so far. The interactive puzzles allow you to test your word skills while having fun. You can find links to the week's crossword and word search puzzles on the right side of the home page and article pages. To do the crossword puzzle, just click on a square or on the clue that you are trying to figure out, and then type your answer into the puzzle. To check your progress, click the Check button at the bottom of the puzzle. Correct letters remain black, but a red X will appear over any incorrect letters. If you get stuck on a clue, click the Hint button, and a letter will appear in one of the boxes of the puzzle. The word search uses the week's vocabulary words for a fun way to reinforce learning. When you find a word from the list on the right, drag your mouse from the first letter to the last to circle it. Words you have found will become gray in the list. Incorrect circles will disappear if you click the Check button at the bottom of the puzzle. If you want to explore the story archive, type a word or phrase in the search box at the top of the page. Articles containing that word or phrase will come up in a list. You can then go to the stories with their associated audio and exercises. For example, if you type the name Obama into the search box and click Search, a listing of all articles that mention Obama's name appears. Click the title of any article to read it, listen to it, or do the exercises associated with it. You can also find stories by date by going to the archive page. If you're a teacher, you can access our library of suggestions for using News for You with your class on the For Teachers page. Tips are arranged by category. You can also download a PDF of the current issue's Teacher's Guide. New stories and exercises are posted every Wednesday at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time. The newsforyouonline.com site is password protected. You must be a subscriber to read or listen to the articles, or to access the exercises, puzzles, or back issues. Subscribing to newsforyouonline.com is quick and easy. Click on the subscriptions link at the top of the homepage. Subscribe today and receive your online password and full access to newsforyouonline.com within minutes. Don't miss the chance to give your students or yourself instant access to high-interest news stories and activities. Subscribe to newsforyouonline.com today.
There. As you can see, that kind of goes through how you can use it more to Deborah's point about more like a learning plan set up to it, and all the activities that you can use. I like the activities because for ESL students, one thing when we administer what is the best literacy test, and that's more or less the reading and writing. A lot of students struggle with tense, is or, women, woman. And that seems to kind of be on that particular test where people get a little stuck. So I think some of the exercises where it gives you the direct feedback and being able to challenge and kind of put the sentences together, like it had with the little scramble board, and you're making that one short sentence, those are good exercises that you can kind of incorporate and utilize the material. So real quick, I just wanted to make sure I leave enough time for this. I was very curious to know, are there any resources that you're currently using, whether it be books? There are other resources. One that I commonly actually refer people to, and internally at Literacy Pittsburgh, they create a username and password for. It's called Essentials for Reading and Essentials for Math. And for some students that in particular are trying to prepare for the GED, or either an assessment test, sometimes it really is helpful in that particular situation. It gives them a pre-test, and then it will set the activities based on their level. And then it kind of gives them an opportunity to go through a number of activities, providing the direct feedback on questions and the answers that they provided and what they got right and wrong. And I actually had people just do the reading part. Not anybody I know of. I have a couple of GED students, but I definitely know that people pass an assessment test for school when we didn't necessarily have an instructor, but they were doing the work on their own using Essentials for Reading. One thing I always tell students, if they're using any of the supplemental materials or resources, even some people that might be on our waiting list, the more consistent you are with practice, ESL, ABE, the better your skills are being developed. If you're kind of sporadically maybe doing it, I think somebody mentioned, hey, I'm assigning, kind of reading things, not sure if it's being executed, maybe. It makes it a little bit challenging. So yeah, the more consistent you are, the better. So what are there any other resources? I know a person's using a book. Anything else anyone's using? And sometimes it can be the library. I've had people find things at the library that they were kind of incorporated or just books of interest. Is there anyone using anything in addition right now? Or if you're using the curriculum, what curriculum through Literacy Pittsburgh maybe are you all using?
So I'm using Send 7 with my ELL student from Uzbekistan. It's 7 minutes, pretty basic English,
Okay.
and it's world news,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's like and it's it doesn't give you a whole lot of detail. And she says she researches, the places and the people a little bit more, but I feel like it really gives her a sense of being a citizen of the world.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Great. Well, I'm
yeah.
glad that you're using,
Yeah,
other resources. That's wonderful. Thank you for
yeah.
that.
What is that resource again?
So you can get I subscribe through podcasts, so it's just called Send 7.
Okay, thanks.
SEND, and then because it's just 7 minutes. It's
Uh-huh.
literally 7 minutes, but world news. Yeah.
I use something called Voice of America Learning English.
Voice of America. Okay.
Yeah,
Did I get that?
it's
Yep.
a website, and it's specifically called Learning English, I think. It's great for.
Okay. She was breaking up a little bit. I made out what she was saying, Voice of America, and using it for, yep. Got you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And how did you, Voice of America, I know that one, and I can't think how we were connected. Did you learn about that one from Literacy Pittsburgh, or did you find that on your own?
I think I learned about it from Literacy Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because I know that one. Yeah, I haven't used that one myself too much because there's a lot of things out
Yeah.
there, everyone. There's a lot of things. So yeah, from time to time it's fun to kind of explore. Anyone else using anything?
I recently started using eslsongs.com.
Oh, very creative. I like that.
Yeah, it has, I just started with one song so far, Bruno Mars, Count on Me, but
Oh.
it suggests different songs and tells you the grammar that's used in the song, and it has activities to go with the song.
Oh, that is really cool. I love that one.
It
Yeah, I'm gonna
is
have to
fun.
write that for my own archives. Anyone else using anything? Books. Sometimes, I know that this didn't really cover too many materials for like beginner, particularly beginner ESL, but I know some people, it's debatable. Some people will find books that are written a little bit more simplistic to incorporate maybe in some exercises to kind of improve vocabulary and understanding. I know there's a tutor, I think he had a small group and he used to go around the room and just even write like labels, like chair, because they were, now this is very, 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 very basic and on the beginner level, but those are some things that I know people used to do to kind of help those students kind of improve. I have another tutor that was using, she had like a little boom box and she would use repetition or have them repeat sentences, have them read out loud. Those are always things, or echo her. And it's funny because when you meet someone who maybe is on the beginner level, they kind of naturally do it because maybe they may not understand the directions even when I'm beginning to test them. So I've had people look at me and go, "Hi, I'm Leah. Hi, I'm Leah." And I go, "Oh dear, okay." But I know why that is, right? Because they're like, I can't answer a thing, but I know that I can try to say what you're saying, right? And I said, "Oh, and I understand, and I'm going to meet you where you're at because this is the baby step. You're on step one, and that's okay to be on step one." But it is interesting because I'm like, okay, I know their name's not Leah, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. We'll start there. So usually that's an indicator. And even, when I go to test people, it's quite interesting too, because sometimes if I'm able to engage you right away and you're picking up on it, I'm like, they have had exposure or some practice even, or maybe even in schooling have had English before, because they'll say, "I'm fine, thank you. How are you?"
Yeah.
And in their mind, they're thinking, I'm really terrible at this. I can't, I don't sound well doing this. And I'm thinking you actually sound better than me. Because they're able to, then this is before we even start the test. They're able to conversate. So I think over time I've kind of been able to gauge a little bit about you and maybe where you are just through many of the exercises that you all do when you first encounter or are getting to know your students. Like that just happened. I had a reading and writing test I did, and then I said, I think you're going to be on the intermediate level because we're talking and chatting away a little bit here and there. And sure enough, she was. So you kind of get to know your students. And certainly I said that because in sort of gauging and selecting maybe some of the activities, if you so choose to use News for You or even go on and kind of play around with it, um, you can kind of say, "Oh, I think this might be of interest and this might be kind of good based on what I know," right? Trust your own instincts because oftentimes you're kind of right there. So are there any questions or anything? I do want to make sure that I share that information
Yeah.
our chat with you all so that you can go on. because you do not have to purchase a subscription. The only reason I don't put it on the screen is because I think these are on YouTube. So I guess we're being careful of hackers and things. So I will share that for you as well. And also, if there are any notes from today's talk or anything, I'll be certain to include those as well. So I'll go ahead and do that now for you all. Anyone have any questions or anything? And there's so much content we couldn't even probably get on there. But the good thing is you don't have to, you can always look because it's so well categorized that you can go on there if you're trying to address a particular thing, expansion of vocabulary, comprehension, note taking, anything that can help your students. So that's always a good way to approach it. And if you have any questions or anything at any point, that's kind of the role that we all play as program coordinators. We're always there. So I joke, I talked to one of my tutors on Saturday. He's like, "Hey, I'm at the library." So he always sends a little note, or he'll tell me when he's not there. So some people I talk to regularly, and others, they're very independent and have been with us for some time, and maybe they don't have as many questions. So it all depends. But if you ever need support or help, or you're looking for some of these additional resources, reach out to your coordinator. Also, too, our tutor specialist is absolutely phenomenal and wonderful. And she says, I'll call her or Zoom or whatever you prefer. And she always can work through maybe a thought you have, a direction, something you're trying to incorporate. So those are just some things that are always available to you. And I'm a big advocate of the library. I'm like always there. My son actually, he's 3.5. He might have been screaming in the background. But I take him for programming there. So they have, a number of resources too. And don't forget about news for you too. It's a great way to kind of incorporate some new things. Anyone have any final comments? I'm using that Bruno Mars, the song one. I love that one. That's right up my alley. You're gonna share that one.
Leah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I have a question about the news for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do we access that?
Okay, so there is a the actual email website address.
Okay.
It's www, 3 W's, dot news for you
Okay.
online.
The word online?
Yes, it's all one, no spacing in there,
Okay.
.com. And then there's a backslash. Now the password, it's in the chat, but if you need me to reach out to you offline, I'll give it. I think they don't want people hacking in on it because these appear on YouTube and common social media for people to watch. So I don't want to be inundated with that, but I'll get that to you.
You can send that to us. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Okay, good.
Any other questions?
I have one, and this is just a stab in the dark. And first of all, I really appreciate the login information because at first I thought maybe I had missed it because it seems that there are a lot of resources out there. However, you need to subscribe to it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here's just another one. And it listed a subscription. But this is the stab in the dark, a site that I found that I actually like. Excuse me, and you get a lot of free information, but a lot of the really good stuff you need to subscribe to is education.com. It's geared more towards, say, the elementary level, like junior high, intermediate, but it has so many resources in terms of worksheets and reading just stories and so forth like that. And I was wondering, does the Pittsburgh Literacy perhaps have that already? And there's a login that we can use to?
Yeah, I can check. And you said it's education.com. Is it
That's it, just
education.com?
education.com.
I'll check because there's so many we do have, and that's what I mean about definitely ask us. That there's so many that I can't even think of them, like the listing. But that's something I can look into for you and certainly, get back to you as well, because that's very important question. So
Well,
make
good.
sure I have your last name because, yeah, I would say definitely don't go to, I feel like I have to subscribe because that's something you can just ask and it's like,
Well,
we'll give it to you.
my default is what can I get for free? I mean,
And
that's,
it should.
yeah.
And it should. That's the smart way of doing it. So yeah, if you're looking for those additional resources, maybe I can even have Katie put something together.
That would
She
be
might
good.
already have something and I
Okay.
can send it out. Just so I don't forget, if I'm seeing just your first name, make sure I have your last name, even if you're dropping your first and last name in the chat, so that I can follow up with you with the information. Okay. I'm looking for my pen. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. That helps because I want to make sure that I'm doing that aspect for you. And I'm just gonna anybody I see. Diane, you wanted some information as well, correct? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, with the news for you online, and you
Okay.
said that
Yeah, I
you
give
could
you
send me
you
a
need you
stack.
need the password. Yeah, if you can't see
Can
it
you
in the
can you
chat.
see my last name? I cannot tell.
I can't see it there, but
Okay, it is Boatman,
okay.
Boatman.
Spell it one more time.
Okay, B is boat, BOAT,
Mm-hmm.
boat, man, MAN.
Gotcha. Okay, I
Okay.
got that. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Because I want to make sure, even if, I can always look up, I want to make sure I have your name so I can get that back out to you.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
This is good information.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I hope you found it useful. I really had a fun time playing on it with the activities. I'm like, am I the only one? So I said, yeah, we definitely should share it. To Marco's point, maybe there's things that people don't know about that we have, and we probably need to do a little bit of a job just kind of sharing that information that, hey, it's here if you want to play with it, use it, incorporate it.
Yeah,
So we
be
thank
good.
you all for that. And don't forget if you all want to shoot me an email because of some of the resources you shared, I can maybe even include that on the list. So I'm going to leave my email address here because people had some wonderful ideas this evening as far as resources that they were already using, and some people already shared in the chat. But if you didn't, I'll tell you, and I'll also put it in the chat. It's L. Patterson at literacypittsburgh.org. So if there was something, even after this conversation tonight, if you think of something you used and you're like, oh, this was great, I did this activity, I'll be happy to share it to the group that attended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Well,
No, but thank you. That was really helpful. I look forward to using News for You.
oh, good.
Yeah.
Yay. I love to hear
Definitely.
that. Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you all for attending this evening, and I look forward to connecting with you and supporting you in addition to your coordinator and our tutor specialists in any way we can. We thank you for your service. We thank you for all that you do for our students because we could never do this solely as a staff. So we appreciate and value all that you do. Can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough. There's no me without you,
It's
actually.
fun.
Yep.
It's fun. Thank you for the opportunity to volunteer.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I'll get that information to you. With that being said, thank you all and have a good evening. And thank you
Thank
again
you.
for
Thank you
attending.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Have a good night.